In this video, I'll show how to make the boards of the birdhouse, the final assignment for level 2 AutoCAD class at the Shipyard Night School. I'll use the dimensions on your handout for the birdhouse as guidance. I think the key is to make it front to back low so that the three views can fit on the A-size title block. I won't bother with the A-size title block now or layers or either of the holes in the front board, the hole for the bird to go through and the circle for the perch to insert into. Just the 7 boards, so 2 boards instead of 4 for the roof, front, back, left, right, and bottom for 7 boards total. I'll start a new drawing, start from scratch. As always, turn off the window screen, whatever that is, double check everything is visible. Yep. No snaps are the 5 I like. Polar tracking is 90. I'll turn on dynamic input and O-snap tracking for good measure. I believe we've covered O-snap tracking by now in the level 2 class. Once you learn it, I think you'll leave it on all the time. Any rate, let's start with the floor of the birdhouse. The handout is 15 by a little less than 6.5 because there's the roof overhangs the front and back a bit, so it might be 5.5, 15 by 5.5. Less than that actually, because anyway, let's make it say 14 by 5.5. I'll start with a let me go to the draft 3D modeling workspace. I'll just use a box Boolean. I'll click there. I'll pick the length, line up the cursor with the X. What I say, 14 in the X direction, enter. 5, did I say 5.5 in the Y direction? And all boards will make a 1/2 inch. So the height will be 0.5, enter. I think that's right. Let's go to the 3D free orbit. Okay, again, I won't bother with layers. I'll just do the 7 boards for the project. Sometimes I've done first the left side, sometimes the front board. Let me do the left side first. Now, in order to make the board for the left side, well, I could likely use the World Coordinate System to draw the left side, but it's easier if I change the UCS so that 0, 0, 0 is right at that corner, X is in this direction, and Y is straight up. So this surface right here will be the new XY plane. That's on the coordinates panel of the home tab of the 3D modeling workspace. I highly recommend the 3-point UCS icon. So we'll click on the 3 UCS icon. Ask for the 0, 0, 0. Let's put it right there. Now it asks for point on positive portion of X-axis. Well, any point along this edge here is gonna good. That at midpoint, that end point is good. I'll click on that end point. Now it says positive, a point on the positive Y portion of the XY plane. Well, any point up this vertical edge or any point along this top edge will work. I'll click and say that midpoint, because that is a positive Y value of the XY plane. So that puts the Y axis straight up the edge there. XY is on the surface. Now we need some guidelines here. Need to decide where the peak is for the birdhouse. Nope, this is the left side. We only need to just determine how high the board goes. The peak is part of the front. Right? Yeah. Let's see, that looks like about half the height. Let's say it goes up 5 units, and then let's say the side is 5 units high. Well, let's make it over so we can later slice it once we get the roof drawn in. Use 3 points on the bottom of the roof to slice the left side board. So let's see, we can use a box. I guess let's use a box, or we could use a polyline. Let's use a box. I want to start the box at that origin. I'll click length and double check my cursor is perfectly in the x-axis. Length is now 14 by default. I'll click right here at 5.5 for the length. Now it says the width, that's the Y dimension, and want to make it plenty high enough. I'll make it say 8. Enter. And then the Z is, the height is in the positive Z direction. I'll make that 0.5. So there is my left side of the birdhouse. Again, I'll slice it once I get the left roof slab built by using 3 points on the bottom of the roof. Before I forget, let's mirror this piece to the other side. That can easily be done with the old 2D mirror command. So we'll select this left piece that will eventually slice down smaller, hit enter. Oh, snap. Oh, we're on the XY plane. Okay. All right. I want to snap right here in the midpoint. So let's bail out, and I'll hit escape to get out of the mirror. Let's go back to the UCS. Let's go back to the World Coordinate System. That's this icon with the little blue and white planet Earth on it. There, now we're back where we began. X and Y is on the floor, if you will. See how the XY axes line up perfectly with the bottom of the floor of the birdhouse. Get that set up, rocket a hair so that Z is not perfectly up on the screen. Hit escape to get out of 3D3 orbit. Drop down, use mirror. Select the left side, enter. O snap at the top or bottom of the floor. If you rest your cursor on the top of the floor, it'll drop a plumb line to the straight down onto the XY plane. So click on the bottom just for good measure. We'll polar track in the positive or the negative World Coordinate System Y direction. Click and answer this erase source objects question with no by hitting enter. Here's our birdhouse so far. I'm going to double check. DI is a quick way to get distance. Click, okay, 14, yep. Everything's in accordance to plan. Now, how high do we want the peak? Well, here the peak is about 10 inches up. All right, so let's draw a guideline from the XY plane midpoint of the floor here, straight up, say 10 units. Draw a line. We'll O-snap at the midpoint on the front bottom of the floor. We'll guide go straight up and make it say 10 units straight up, enter. So that'll be our the peak here. How high do we want to go up the sides? I think we figured about 5, about half the height. So let's switch over to drawing polylines now. From this outside end point here, we don't want to show the end grain of the plywood, so we'll have the front board cover up the end grain of the left side board. We'll go straight up. I'll O-snap. On second thought, let's see. Why am I not getting the Z elevation? Tell you what, let's be on the safe side, let's set the UCS so that this edge is now the XY plane. Otherwise, I'll most likely be clicking in the background on the XY plane. Let's go back to coordinates, click the 3-point UCS icon. We'll set that as the new 0, 0, 0 point. X should go in this direction and Y should go in this direction. So now we got the XY plane on this edge or this surface. Go back to polyline, start at 0, 0, 0 at the end point of that sideboard with cursor pointing straight up 90 degree of our current user coordinate system. We'll type, say, 5, enter. There's our 5-unit line. I'll go up to the peak construction line. Now check it out. How can I find a point 5 units up here? Did I make this 10 units? Midpoint would be 5, but to be on the safe side, I'm going to O-snap track from this point. I have not clicked yet. I'm just resting my cursor, then slide over and see it. The O-snap tracking sets up a nice little polar tracking line. I'll come all the way. Let me acquire that point. Come up there. 2 dotted lines with O-snap tracking guide me to 5 units up that right side board. Click, come down to endpoint and close. So there is our polyline closed. Let me bring up the properties, right click, pick properties. And this is a closed, yes, polyline. All right. While it's selected, I can click a command rather than the usual command and then select. We'll extrude this polyline I just drew 1/2 unit, making sure our cursor is in the direction we want to extrude in. 0.5, enter. Okay, let's mirror it back. Let's see, I think I can O-snap. Well, to be on the safe side, let's go back to the World Coordinate System again. Okay, we're back to the World Coordinate System again. Let's mirror that front piece. Enter. Across the midpoint of the floor on the World Coordinate XY plane. Click. Yep, it'll work. Enter. Okay. Now let's concentrate on the roof for the left side. Well, for that, it would be convenient if we could make the XY plane the surface right here along the edge of the sloped edge. Say with that being the 0, point temporarily. By the way, you can name UCSs, but I find they're quick enough to make with the 3-point method. It's not worth the time to name them and save them. Let's go to coordinates to the 3 icon. Where do we want the origin? 0.000. That's O snap right there. Which direction do we want X to go in? It's O snap right there for X to go in this direction. Now it's asking for a point on the positive Y portion of the XY plane. Well, that is a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. I'll click on the midpoint on the back of the birdhouse. Now the XY plane is temporarily on the edge of the slope surface of the front here. Okay, let's draw a rectangle. Could be a polyline. I'm going to eventually want to offset it to get an overhang on all sides. We'll slice the overhang off the top. Let's go to rectangle. I'll start there and finish it there. Zoom back out, we'll click on it to show it. There's our rectangle. We want to offset it so there's a little soffit on the front and the sides. Don't know that we need a soffit on the rear, but they would do a little more to keep rainwater from getting into the end grain, the edge of the plywood on the back of the birdhouse. Let's click offset while it's selected. Asking for the offset distance. I've been using 1/2 inch for this. You can customize, use a little more if you want. Let's say 0.5, enter. Let's hit enter to finish the offset command. What happened? Oh, I forgot to click which direction to go. All right, be that way. We'll click offset. Set the distance to 0.5. It already is. I'll hit enter for the default. I'll click the polyline and click outside the small rectangle. That's the part I forgot. Okay, we got no use for the original polyline we drew on the temporary XY plane now that we've offset it out. So let's go ahead and erase it before it causes confusion. Now we got this polyline that's right now laying flat on this slope surface and overhangs. Let's do a 3D free orbit. I forgot about, let's see, let's hit escape and I think it'll show there we go. See, there's our roof panel. Again, we're going to slice off these sides. Probably should have waited to mirror this piece late, until I get this piece sliced. Okay. Hit escape to get out of the 3D free orbit. Let's extrude this roof panel. It's now ready to glue on top of this sloped edge. Let's extrude, select the new rectangle created by offsetting the O-snapped one around the corners there. Hit enter. Make sure your cursor's in the right direction. Click 0.5, enter. I think I'll go ahead and erase this. And then slice this piece and then mirror this piece over. Okay, we want to slice it using, for the slicing plane, 3 points on the bottom of this roof panel. And that'll slice this board so it's got a little glued surface, a little edge touching the bottom of the roof for another bead of glue, and a couple of tacks or screws for good measure. Let's go to the slice command. It's the sandwich looking icon here. I'll zoom in for good measure. Whoops. There, slice command. Zoom back out. Is that? What do we want to slice? Well, we want to slice this board right here. So we'll select that left side board and hit enter. Now, this is the part I often forget. Hit enter to invoke the 3 points method. I don't know that I have ever used any of these options. With guidelines, the 3 points method is good for everything so far as I've seen. Hit enter, invoke the 3 points method. Now we pick the first, then the second, then the third point on the bottom of the roof. Well, there's a point on the bottom of the roof. Well, there's a point on the bottom of the roof. There's a point on the bottom of the roof. These 3 points can't be in a straight line. So there's 3 points on the bottom of the roof that are not in a straight line. Which side do I want to keep? I always say both and then manually erase the junk. I'll hit enter to accept the both option. There's the kerf, where the infinitesimally thin saw blade cross-cut this board. Okay. Got no use for this, unless you want to use it to make a porch for the front of the birdhouse, maybe. Let's just go ahead and erase this sliced off piece. We can erase this guideline before it causes confusion. Let's mirror this piece and this roof, replicating the left side boards to form the two on the right side. We'll return to the World Coordinate System for good measure. Drop down regular 2D mirror command, select the roof, select the left side, hit enter. Oh, snap at the midpoint in the bottom front of the birdhouse. Polar track in the positive or negative World Coordinate System Y direction. Answer the question by hitting enter. No, I do not want to erase the original. Now, we got that little overlap there at the top. Okay, how can we clean that up? Let's slice the two roof pieces. About 3 points. Believe we can stay in the World Coordinate System, pick a midpoint in the front, a midpoint in the back, and polar track straight, or go straight up the z-axis for the third point of the cutting plane. So it'll be a vertical plane right across the center of the floor. Okay, I'll hit escape to get out of 3D free orbit. We'll click the slice command again. I want to select both roof slabs to slice, hit enter. Need 3 points method, hit enter or click 3 points. First point, midpoint at the front, next midpoint at the back. And then let's polar track straight up the Z-axis. See the tooltip there? It says positive Z. Can I zoom in? Sort of there. It says plus Z. Zoom back out. I'll click while I'm in the plus Z direction. Hit enter for both sides of the curve to remain. There. Now we got these tiny little pieces here. Again, we might use them for some trim or maybe a rain short little roof over the hole the bird goes through, but let's just go ahead and erase them. There's one and there's one. Got them both selected to erase, hit enter. There's our birdhouse. Let me go to conceptual, 3D free orbit. Now I'll save this drawing, or I should say model, and subtract away a odd shape for the hole the birds go through. Probably use my little Tweety bird again. And I'll subtract out a cylinder for the perch that I need to use the revolve command to make. But this at least gets the 7 boards. We're now in the World Coordinate System. The birdhouse is sitting on the World Coordinate System XY plane. And we can, okay. I'll leave it set as, well, let me save it. I'll save it as, we'll call it, okay, leave that folder, we'll call it All Bird House Part 1. And I'll open it up later and make the holes in the front and the perch and build the layers, and eventually I gotta use Design Center to get the title block into a layout. And I gotta add, make the birdhouse into a block which includes 2 attributes. I also need to make the plot stamp using fields we learned. I'll click save, and we'll call that good enough for now. We go, bye-bye.